Hello there folks, and welcome back to my video gaming channel. Today we're talking about the Sega CD game Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic CD is a 1993 platform game developed by Sega for the Sega CD. Sonic CD began as a port of the Sega Genesis game Sonic the Hedgehog, but was developed into a separate project. Led by Sonic's co-creator Naoto Oshima, the developers sought to show off the technical capabilities of the Sega CD. Sonic CD features the debut of recurring Sonic characters Amy Rose and Metal Sonic, and includes animated cutscenes. The game opens with a beautifully animated cutscene and a kick-ass song. I just wish all Sonic games had cutscenes like this, because they are truly special and really get you pumped up for the adventure that awaits. Let's have a look at the Japanese and European intro.
You can go again. Don't fall behind. Say don't be late. Destination heaven. Stay alive. Now you and me. We're going to have fun. Say, lights off. Excalibur. Drop that bar. What do you mean? Give and take. Going home. Side zone. Check it out, eh? Live alone. Leather legs. It's in place. What do you get? Say, back it. Doom room. Cosmic doom. That's the play. It's Sonic Boom. Sonic Warrior. Sonic Warrior.
You always need a day. You got the power to save the day.
Take a little chance. Slip on through. I got no matter what you do. You gotta do for you. Sonic Warrior. Sonic Warrior.
The power is in your mind to shake the planet, to conquer time. Sonic Warrior, baby, this is time. Sonic Warrior, whether in mind, nothing gets by the way to stay like if we try. You can do anything. Sonic Warrior, always takes a chance. Sonic Warrior, never think again. Nothing gets by the way to stay like if we try. You can do anything.
Interestingly and strangely, two soundtracks were composed for the game. One featured for the Japanese and European versions, and one in the North American version.
If you're strong, you can fly. You can reach the other side of the rainbow. It's alright, take a chance, 'cause there is no circumstance that you can't handle. It's a supersonic flight, gotta keep it going. Sonic boom, sonic boom, sonic boom, keeps you running fast. Sonic boom, sonic boom, save the planet from disaster. Sonic boom, sonic boom, spinning through the world in motion. Sonic boom, sonic boom.
Although I like both versions, I have to say the Japanese and European version had the edge over the American version. Anyway, Sonic CD is a side-scrolling platform game similar to the original Sonic the Hedgehog. Players control Sonic the Hedgehog as he ventures to stop his nemesis, Dr. Robotnik, from obtaining the magical time stones and conquering a little planet. Like previous games, Sonic can destroy enemies and objects by rolling into a ball and collects rings as a form of health. Sonic can also perform a spin dash and a super peel out, both of which increases speed. The game has 7 levels. Each round is split into 3 zones, the third of which ends in a boss fight against Robotnik. Players start with 3 lives, which are lost when they suffer any type of damage without any rings in their possession. Losing all lives results in a game over. Sonic CD is different from the other Sonic games through its time travel game mechanic, which allows players to access different versions of rounds set in the past, present and future. The music in the game also changes with these different time zones as remixes of the present music. Sonic starts the first 2 zones in the present. The third zone is always set in the future. Its timeline dependent upon whether the player destroyed both transporters. Sonic, he travels through time by hitting signs labelled past or future, and then he's got to maintain his speed afterward. By default, future stages are neglected and littered with machinery after Robotnik has conquered the little planet, appropriately named Bad Futures. So we're encouraged to convert each zone into a good future, where there's bright colours, thriving nature and very few enemies. However, to achieve a good future in each zone, players must travel to the past and destroy a hidden transporter where enemy robots spawn. Achieving a good future in every zone and unlocks the game's best ending. So you better stick in. It's also very important to point out, by finishing a level with more than 50 rings, Sonic can access a special stage. And in these special stages, Sonic must destroy 6 UFOs in a 3D environment with a time limit. Anyway, let's have a more detailed look at these levels. Palm Tree Panic is a wonderfully bright and happy tropical paradise stage, not at all unlike the Green Hill Zone out of Sonic the Hedgehog 1. Tons of springs will throw you around all over the place and you can spin through crazy winding tunnels or find secret passages in internal rock sections. The past is a prehistoric jungle while the good future has water flowing freely, but the bad future is a polluted metal hell. This is a very short, simple stage that you can whip through with very few problems. Sonic seemingly experiments with drugs in his most visually bizarre, backward psychedelic level in history. This is Sonic CD's standard bouncy pinball stage, coming in unusually early in the game, with bumpers, flippers, springs and other typical paraphernalia, but the appearance and location of the level is just such a mixed bag of random stuff that it is almost beyond explanation and classification. Amy manages to get herself kidnapped by Metal Sonic at the beginning of the stage, and you must bounce and flip your way to the patience-challenging pinball table of a boss. Tidal Tempest is Sonic CD's take on the classic labyrinth zone out of Sonic the Hedgehog 1. It's an aquatic cavern level complete with heavy use of typical underwater segments and winding narrow passageways loaded with steps and vertical drops. There are plenty of puzzling objects to contend with, including water currents that carry Sonic in one direction, manipulated by switches that also open up many doorways, and lots of tricky moving blocks and spike balls. Straight paths above the water take you across the most part of the zones, with several gaps to drop down to submerged routes below, and while this is not a fast level, there are a few areas that provide easy time travel between two springs. I have to say, for me though, I'm not a big fan of these water levels in the Sonic games. I find them a bit slow, and as I said in the Sonic the Hedgehog 1 review game that I done, I think the levels are supposed to be fast. After all, it is Sonic the Hedgehog. In the Quartz Quadrant, Eggman has set up a mine and conveyor belt system to extract Little Planet's quartz crystals for whatever reason. This is a pleasant little level that combines underground cavern and outdoor forest environments where paths are often covered in moving conveyor belts whose direction can be changed by touching nearby switches. It's a pretty quick stage with little to worry about, especially compared to either of its level neighbours. Wacky Workbench is undeniably an all-time classic contender for the much sought after Stupidest Level Name Award. In appearance at least, this is a prime example of the mechanic zone type set inside an industrious Eggman factory. Long checkered bars stretching along the bottom of this stage hurl Sonic up almost across the entire height of when he touches them, making it difficult to squeeze under the low gaps beneath a series of hanging pillars in Zone 1. Also beware of wide networks of electrifying conduits that light up the background when active and blasts of freezing air that turn Sonic into a popsicle. The factory is being built against a backdrop of desert canyons in the past, while the good future offers a brighter, fun factory-style experience. There are few other levels that can both charm and irritate you in such precisely equal quantities as Starlight Zone on Acid, better known as Stardust Speedway. Sonic CD's penultimate stage is by far its fastest, both in terms of top speed and consistency, with pretty much nothing else but mind-boggling arrays of thin, winding, curving roads and lots of springs and speed-up devices to both send you on your way and in the complete opposite direction. Zone 2 features a large background structure that alternates from Eggman statue to tall, beautiful building depending on the time zone, and the level culminates in a speculative highway race against Metal Sonic to finally save Amy from his metal claws. Eggman's last stronghold on Little Planet happens to be his biggest and deadliest, and can stand as one of the toughest and most intimidating 2D levels of the series. A fairly typical final factory lair for the Doctor that has bucket loads of obstacles and features, a small number of which in common with Scrap Brain Zone. One of the more memorable is an extremely unique moment in Zone 2, where Sonic has to walk into a laser beam that will shrink him down to half his size in order for him to fit through tiny passageways. Successful time travel is a very complex challenge here, but it all accumulates in the final operatic battle with Eggman to decide the fate of the planet. Okay, so now I want to show you the special stages. Normally the completion of all special stages is essential for finishing the game properly and seeing the good ending. Fortunately, in Sonic CD, completing the 7 rather tough special stages, also known as special zones here, is only one of 2 things you can do to complete the game properly, so they're actually completely optional. The other alternative is to create good futures for each and every level, which I personally find to be the easier and more fun option. When you complete a special stage, you earn yourself a time stone, and all 7 time stones automatically grant you a good future for every zone, so it's really up to you. To gain access to a special stage, complete either Zone 1 or Zone 2 of any of the 7 levels while holding at least 50 rings. Next to the signpost at the end, you'll find a giant ring floating in the air, a la Sonic 1. Simply leap in and you're there. Let's have a look at those levels then. Sonic CD looks and sounds incredible. In terms of technical aspects, this is a masterful platformer that I've had a blast listening to and looking at throughout. The character designs are great and the overall level design is quite inventive at times, but the colourful palette, strong world building and interestingly themed zones made my playthrough such a delight. Most of the levels were pleasingly colourful and charming. The sound was great as well, while the score was absolutely fantastic, while the end theme after each beaten level being incredibly entertaining and infectious in its 90s feel. This is one of the coolest soundtracks in Sonic's history for sure. I also loved those animated cutscenes as they were so much fun, but they clearly took away too much size from this game, which probably resulted in that shortened lengths. The Sega CD version of this game sold more than 1.5 million copies, making it the system's best seller. In the United Kingdom, it was the top selling Mega CD game in December 1993. I love this game, I played it for hours, and for that I'm going to give the Sega CD game 8 out of 10 stars. I really did enjoy this game.
In the end, who's on your side? Who can you trust? In the middle of the night, where will you be? If you can't find you, there's no place to go. Nothing to do. If you gotta do something, you gotta do something. Believe in yourself. 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 Hey!
Extraordinary things can happen if you believe in yourself. You got to have a faith in yourself if you want respect from your friends.
Don't rearrange. No need to change. Stay like you are. Keep it all the same. But as you move along in your life, keep an open mind. And don't forget that if you gotta do something, believe in yourself. Yourself. Yourself.
Extraordinary things can happen if you believe in yourself. You got to have a faith in yourself if you want respect from your friends.
When you feel tight, look at yourself.
Inside your heart, you will find a special place to unwind.
When you feel right, look at yourself.
Inside your mind, you see connected eternity.
You feel tight, look at yourself.
Inside your heart, you will find a special place to unwind.
When you feel right, look at yourself.
Inside your mind, you will see connected eternity.
Well, there you go. That was my review of Sonic CD. If you liked this video, then please press like. You can also leave a comment. However, it would be brilliant if you would subscribe to my channel and join my gang. Until then guys, see you later. Bye bye.